most people say I'll believe it when I see it, right? You can't see it first. You have to believe it first, right?
Facts.
You got to believe it.
Yeah.
If you believe it, then you will take action on it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
If you got to see it, it's not there. You're not going to ever take action. You're going to remain exactly where you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
faith is a huge component in being successful. So traditionally, we learn all the false truths about business, like it takes 2 to 5 years to build a business.
Yep.
You got to get a business loan. You got to have venture capital. You got to bootstrap your way to the top. All those things that we learned was completely wrong, right? So when I learned about government contracts, the biggest phenomena and aha moment was that no, it does not take 2 to 5 years to grow a business. You can grow a business highly profitable if you're selling to the right person, right? But most people don't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are ready to give up because of their situations and because of their circumstances. But the man of God, he said, well, go borrow the oil, right? She said, borrow. Yeah, he was teaching her entrepreneurship. He was teaching her how to create wealth. That's a wealth principle. He said, go borrow the oil and bring it back to me. And so she borrowed oil from everybody who owed her and everybody in the community who would give her the oil, and came back with so much abundance. Not only was she able to help him, she helped herself, and she was able to actually make money with the overflow, right?
Yeah.
And so borrowing, I mean, this is not a new thing.
That's a Bible bar.
I'm just saying, you have to borrow money to get rich.
Facts, yeah.
If you don't have it,
Yeah.
figure it out. Use
Yeah.
other people's money.
So welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. When you look on the news, you're always hearing about recessions, about how bad the economy is, the stocks are going down, people don't know what's happening, people are laying off, right? So the jobs are being lost every now and then, and AI is about to take over, automation, all of these things that are happening has everybody frightened and worried about their financial security. Today, our show is going to ease your tension, your worry, your fears, because we have a 20-year business vet who successfully built 2 small businesses. She teaches small business entrepreneurs how to grow their business with government contracts so they can have consistent, sustainable income and get paid top dollars by the #1 largest purchaser of service in the United States without having to chase customers. Over the past couple of years, this government contract strategist has helped over 200 plus entrepreneurs generate upwards of $3 million and growing in revenues. An award-winning business expert, founder of She's Got Goals LLC and the $1 Trillion Secret to Government Contracts. Welcome, Dr. Karwanna D is in the building.
Woo-woo! Thank you.
Oh man, I'm excited about this episode because a couple of things is people don't realize how lucrative government contracts are. And I've had once I was introduced to the concept, I've had people who like are killing it in the space.
Yes.
And it's almost one of those things that it sounds too good to be true, but it makes sense, right? Because the government has access to all this money,
yes,
but they don't have the products and services. So you think about it, you're like, yo, it makes sense that they're going to need people to fulfill those,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And so I love the concept of government contract, and I love the angle that you take as it relates to government contract, because there's different ways you can approach government contracts.
Absolutely.
But before we get to all of that,
yes,
for those who don't know, Who is Dr. Karwanna D?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I am Dr. Karwanna D. I'm a government contract strategist who help entrepreneurs, of course, not only grow lucrative businesses with government contracts, but create generational wealth. And create legacies, for their business. And so, in essence, I'm a mom, all those great things as well. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what I do and who I am.
And so, what is government contracts, and how did you stumble across it?
Yeah. So, good question. So, in essence, basically, government contracting, in the simplest form, is doing business with the government. Okay. It's an exchange for a large lump sum of money in exchange for your services or your products. And so basically you're acquiring the government as your client, and that's what government contracting is. And so in fact, the U.S. government, and most people don't even know this, in 2019 was the year of COVID, right? In 2019, the U.S. government spent $6 trillion in business products and services.
Wow.
Now, this was the federal government. Now, in 2020, during and in the middle of pandemic, a year into it, that monies increased to 10 trillion. And of that, 26% is obligated to be spent with small business entrepreneurs who provides products and services. So that's $2.6 trillion that's on the table on the federal level for small business products and, for small businesses, right?
Wow.
But most people don't know that. And this is the reason why I coined it the $1 trillion secret to government contracts. Yeah. But yet you have, during that period, so many mom and pop businesses, so many traditional businesses that have been around for decades that had to close their doors simply because they did not know this one thing that could have saved their business.
Wow. And so what was that defining moment where you hit the jackpot? Like what this looked like is when they dig it for gold, and then they hit that one thing, and then now the oil is what was that moment for Karwanna that had you saying oh my God, this is the one?
Yeah. So prior to my knowledge about doing business with the government, in fact, most people, when they hear that, they're like, doing business with the government, you think war, right? You think weapons, you think all those things. But, there's so many things that you can sell to the government, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But prior to my knowledge of that, I sold to individual people, and I sold to other small businesses. Yeah. And so my business struggled, right? So traditionally, we learn all the false truths about business, like it takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. Yep. You got to get a business loan. You got to have venture capital. You got to bootstrap your way to the top. All those things that we learned was completely wrong, right? So when I learned about government contracts, the biggest phenomena and aha moment was that no, it does not take 2 to 5 years to grow a business. You can grow a business highly profitable if you're selling to the right person, right? But most people don't know that. Yeah. And so for me, during the struggle, right, I started actually doing B2B, which is the business to business business model, and freelancing for other entrepreneurs. And one of them just happened to be an African-American billionaire, right? And he grew up in the same hood that I grew up in, right? We went to the same church.
Wow.
And what I found, I just started asking questions like, dude, be real, because I was really struggling in business, but I was working full time in my business, making less than part-time income.
And what was your business?
At the video production, photography services. So I have a whole media company, and I was really struggling, to get it off the ground. I mean, I made money, but it wasn't enough to live off of. And so I just asked the question, how did you do it? How did you build a multi-billion-dollar company in such a short amount of time? And he took a serious look at me, and he said, well, the same thing that you're doing for me, which was building his portfolios with video production and all those things. He said, you can actually do that for the government, and they will pay you very well.
Wow.
That to me was
stop, because my video people look, don't get no ideas.
That to me was oh my God, are you serious, right? Seriously?
Yeah.
And so I did everything that I could over the next, year or 2 years to try to really figure out how to make government contracting work for me. And at the time, I was probably making $30,000, but I was working 50, 60 hours a week, right? Yeah. That's slave money. Right. I created a job, and I was broke, right? Because there's 2 ways that you can build a business. You can build a business for broke if you don't understand how business really works, and you can build a business that will create a legacy for you, right? Yeah. So most entrepreneurs build a business for broke, and so so I took a serious look at that. And I got started with government contracting. Of course, I did it wrong the first time, but I was so determined to become that next billionaire, just like the young man that I knew. I'm like, I'm going to figure this thing out, right? And so the first contract that I landed, it was literally for 28 days. Over that 28-day period, it was 2 hours a day, which totals 56 hours, and it was for $70,000. And for me, that was life-changing income, because most people work 40-hour work weeks and don't even make that in a year, right? But I was able to do that in a 28-day period. And I said, there's something to this, right? And the first thing that came to my mind was like all these things, like, oh my God, we learned about business wrong, right? We learned that Christopher Columbus discovered America. That was a lie, right? We learned the American dream is to get a college degree and you're going to get a job that pays you, and most people end up in debt forever. That's a lie. And I'm like, how many truths do I really need to learn? And so I start educating myself, right? And so from there, I'm like, this is the $1 trillion secret to government contracts, because I discovered that the government, not only do they print money, but they're obligated to spend this money, right, with small businesses, right, who provide products and services. And what I realized was that the government is a building full of people, right? They're just individual people in a building under an entity, right? And they consume everything. Literally, they have lights. Somebody has to provide that. The government cannot source its own products or services. They have to go externally to get that, including food, things like light, communication services, event planning, photography, video production, like everything. Like literally, I have clients that sell prosthetic wigs to the government. And so when I realized that, I said, you know what? This is the $1 trillion secret that most people don't know. Like, it's a secret. It's hidden in plain sight. And then as I began to do my research, and you can stop me if you have a question, jump in at any time.
I know my audience is like, tell us more.
As I began to do my research, I found that people like Jeff Bezos have a government contract. Elon Musk have government contracts. Canon, Nikon, StarKist Tuna, like all Wonder Bread, every successful 500 Fortune company has government contracts. And I'm like, they don't tell these people this, right? And then, so I realized that not only are they obligated to spend this money with small businesses, right? But small businesses are those who consider, according to the SBA, is anyone that has under 500 employees. So when you are the only solopreneur, you're like, where do I fall in? Because I don't even have one employee. It's just me, right? So you're considered a micro disadvantaged small business. And what I found was that there's pools of money for that. There's special money set aside specifically to help small businesses become big businesses. And so, that was the phenomenon for me.
Wow. And so walk us through sort of like the process, right? Because, salute to my brother Jason White. He does government contracts. His game is a little different, right? So he, is sort of like, he does middlemaning, right?
Right.
He finds a government contract, and whether he knows,
how to do the service
or not, he'll secure that government contract. Then he'll find a company that actually provides that product or service, and then he'll be the middleman, right?
Absolutely.
And he'll pay them whatever they charge, and whatever is left over he takes for himself.
Yes.
And that's straight middleman, right? You have a different approach. Talk to us about your approach.
So there's like 3 different ways that you can actually position so many different creative ways, right, to get money from the government. Number 1 is the middleman approach, where you're outsourcing the work. Number 2 is to be a consultant and go get contracts for other people. And number 3 is to get business contracts for yourself. You can still scope out a subcontract for someone else and build a team that way as well. And so for me, I teach people the whole business of doing business government contracting, like the whole business model of which is called B2G, business to government, right? That's the business model most people have never heard of. It's B2C, business to consumer, B2B, business to business, but B2G is the most lucrative business model that you can actually have, right? And so for me, it was like, the reason why I teach that is because in order to do business for the government, number 1, you have to be a credible business. There are certain checkpoints in business that you have to have. And what I learned about that business foundation, which everything starts with the foundation, right? Even when you're building, you have to test the soil first, right? You have to send engineers out, and then you have to test the material and all those things before you can build up, right? So it's the same thing for a business. Most people build a business that does not have a solid foundation. And when the big bad wolf, like the pandemics and recessions hit, right? Those businesses are unsustainable and they fail. But when you build a business with a solid foundation, right, then you qualify to do business like with government agencies and corporations and to attract those type of premium buyers who will pay you like quantum leaps of income, right? And just like you will have huge cash infusions when you attract the right type of customer. And so building the business foundation is so very key, but not only does it allow you to build a lucrative business and attract premium buyers, but you can also qualify for funding, build business credit, and that is the game to getting into the wealth game. So the type of business that I teach when it comes to government contracting is creating wealth for generations to come, something that you can pass on to your children's children, right? So you can have so much money coming into your business that you won't know what to do with it. But when you get into that game, because there's so many levels to it, right? With new levels, of course, there's new problems that needs to be solved, and that problem becomes, well, how do I keep this money, right? And so you get into more wealth strategies. And so I teach like that particular approach because that's long term. Yes. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month, where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching.
I love it because I feel like, when you think about, it's almost like real estate, right? When you think about real estate, you got people who are wholesalers. You got people who fix and flip. You got people who buy a whole. And what it sounds like, from your perspective, your way of teaching government contracts is more like buy and hold, right? Because it's like, just quick real estate, right? For my insiders
it's
out there.
It's some quick money, right?
Wholesalers, quick money, right? Middleman, you know what I'm saying? You find a distressed property.
Absolutely.
You find somebody who wants to buy the property. You middleman and you get paid that way.
Exactly.
Fix and flip, same thing, quick money. Right? You find a property, you buy it if you have the capital, you fix it, and then you sell it for higher, you get the money, right? So these are all quick money. Buy and hold, you find the property, you fix it up, but then you're holding on to it, right? So now not only do you get the appreciation of the equity that's in that house, you also, if you rent it out, you're getting the cash flow of that house and the appreciation.
Absolutely.
And that's how you build wealth in real estate, right? And so, from your perspective, being able to teach government contracting to a point where you're going business to government and now, making sure that those businesses are the right businesses, right, for the government. That allows you to infuse money into your business, but then also, grow your business and be able to continue to do business with the government, right? So talk to me a little bit about, how do you, what are they looking for? Like, is it like looking for government contracts? Is it competitive? Is it something that what are some of the nuances of trying to secure a contract?
So before I answer that, I also want to share that another reason why I teach long-term sustainability and creating wealth is because I grew up in an urban community. Nobody teaches you about financial prosperity. Facts. Nobody teaches you any of those things. And I grew up in an area where there was a lot of blight, and I always wanted to provide a solution. And so I teach entrepreneurs how to be what I coin solutionaries. Like if you solve a problem for the government, it will make you rich, right? And so for me, that is so very important to teach people how to be the change they want to see in their community. And so not only are they becoming rich for themselves and creating financial prosperity for their families, but they're able to take those fundings and that money back into their communities, which is different. And so this is how you have the power. Instead of doing marches, now we get to buy the block back, those types of things, right? Instead of complaining about the miseducation of education systems and what they're not teaching our kids. Now you get to hire the right teachers because you have money, and money is power, right? Absolutely. And so that right there, I want to just make sure that people understand the power of government contracts and that your business is not just for you. Your business is for a purpose, right? And so I show people how to have a purpose-driven business. Now, what is the government? What are the nuances for government contracting? Like, what do you have to have? What are they looking for? Typically, they're looking for quality people, right? And in order for you to have a quality business, it goes back to that business foundation, right? So you have to have the right business foundation. They're looking for people who are eager, right, to learn as they grow, right? You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be a complete expert. In fact, the first contract that I landed, it was for photography. My background was in video production. So now for me, I knew absolutely nothing about aperture, nothing about lighting, nothing about, prime lenses. I didn't know nothing about that. But the first contract that I landed was for photography. I could go take a picture, right? And it was, and it's like similar worlds, right? Because video is nothing but still frames put together, right? So I knew that I can do the work, right? And I was determined, but I learned along the way, right? So $70,000 literally changed my life that year. And then what I did was I looked back and I said, well, what did I do to get this one? And I landed another one on top of that, another one on top of that, and another one on top of that. And before I knew it, I went from making $20,000-$30,000 a year to $200,000-$300,000 in a single month for less than part-time, doing something I had very little skills, right? So you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be willing to do the work, right? And so that's what they look for. They look for people who are eager to do the work and to learn and get paid to learn, right? That type of stuff, right? And so they look for people who deliver on their promises, because if you promise to deliver a certain service or a certain product to the government, right, and then they pay you for that, you want to make sure that you're delivering quality product and quality services. That's it, right? And they're looking, and literally it's crazy because socioeconomic disadvantages that we have as black and brown people and people who come from like urban disadvantaged, impoverished communities and stuff like that. Like normally you would think, oh, woe is me, right? But the government say, yes, woe is you. Here's this money that I have for you to help you fix that situation, right? So it's all about perspective and how you look at it. And they're looking and they're literally begging people to come get this money. And we're talking about trillions of dollars, right? There is no way that you can do business with the government and not at least generate $1 million, even as a broke entrepreneur right now. Wow. Yes.
And so couple of reasons why, this is like powerful information. I think first and foremost, like you mentioned earlier, like you are a wife, you are a mother, like you literally, with this time, you literally are allowed to, be a mother, be a wife, and take care, and have fun and travel and do all those things. And still, make a lot of money.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Providing services to the government. But then also, this kind of changes the perspective, because I think that, to be honest, like me, I don't trust the government, right? But my lack of trust for the government comes from legal things from the past, Jim Crow laws, redlining, things even from a financial perspective. And so I've always taken the aspect of, like I'm good on the government, you know what I'm saying? Like do for self. But, this has given me a different perspective because when you look at the stats of our community, the government is the largest employer of black and brown people, right? And then the second largest employer of black and brown people are entrepreneurs, right? And so to know that this lack of trust, if you will, of the government is like, nah, I don't want my people working for the government. But I'll take your money because it ain't really your money. It's like
our money
I'm
anyway.
a taxpayer.
Exactly.
You're a tax. Everybody, we pay taxes.
Absolutely.
So it's really our money. That the government is giving us back.
Yes.
And then now we could tip the scales, right? So if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur and you care about your community and you care about taking back the control, right? Because at the end of the day, jobs could go, right?
Yeah.
And then what do you have?
Yeah.
But if you are entrepreneur, and specifically though, I'm talking to you, you can't unhear this. Specifically, if you are a struggling entrepreneur trying to figure out how you can make ends meet, tap into government contracting because the money is there for you.
Absolutely.
You could use that money to now hire people, circulate money back into the community and become the solution instead of still being salty or being like, all right, the government did this in the past, so F the government, give me mine.
So like I talk to people about that particular thing all the time. It's like a lot of times we do view the government as an enemy, right? The ops, right? And so for me, like I'm a very spiritual person, and it reminds me of the scripture that specifically says, "I will make your enemy your footstool."
Ooh.
That's so powerful, right? And so when you think about it from that perspective, it's like all the government that oppressed the people now have these pools of money that's hidden in plain sight. But if you're smart enough, if you read and understand, right? Because there's riches in books. If you read and understand that the reparations is hidden inside government contracts for entrepreneurs, you can go get your 40 acres and a mule. It's not going to come from an external source. It's going to come from within, right? So if you have a business, having a business is one of the most significant, most powerful things that you can create. But most people don't know what they have. They don't know what they have, right? Your business will create wealth for you, but you have to be willing to learn how to get out of your own way and to do it the right way, right? So allow the government to fund your legacy. Yes, the government is funding my legacy. Before doing government contract, I own no land. I own no real estate. I couldn't afford those things. Now I own more than 10 acres of land. The government funded that legacy, and now I can pass it down to my children, right? I own properties and real estate and have rental property. The government funded that legacy, and it literally changed my life. So I was able to stand on the enemy's back to get and to accomplish things that society say I would never have accomplished, because statistically, I was supposed to end up a teen mom pregnant. Wow. Statistically, I wasn't supposed to have a college degree. None of those things. Statistically, I was supposed to end up on drugs and on the street. And statistically, I was supposed to continue to pass down the middle class mindset of working for paycheck to paycheck and barely making ends meet and continuing to allow the government to tax me because poor people are taxed the most, right?
Facts.
Poor people are taxed the most, right? And so in order to get out of that rat race, you have to learn how to make more money. The more money you make, the more time you buy back. And time is the most valuable asset that we all have, right? So the more time you have to enjoy life, right? While you're creating legacy, like, it's a win-win.
That's a win-win. So what's the like? So you you are now a coach, right? So not only are you eating well, you know what I'm saying, from government contracts, you decided, you know what, I'm abundance is my birthright.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So I'm not gonna hold all of this information to me because it's not scarce. There's enough for everybody out there, and so you decided that, you know what, I'm going to start teaching people how to, obtain government contracts. And you have students, and when we read your bio earlier, you have students that have made millions of dollars. Talk a little bit about your program and and some of the success your students have had.
So for me, it's like, because I didn't have a roadmap, it took me a little while longer than I wish it would have, right, to get there. And so I created a pathway to help my clients get there faster. I wanted to teach this information because it's not in the books. Nobody teaches it. I have college degrees. Like, I have a master's degree, a doctorate degree, all this stuff in business, right? And never once have I ever heard of government contracts until I talked to my fellow brother man, right? And he was like, you know what?
Right.
And you know what? I'm going to be the big mouth to tell everybody about this. And so for me, I wanted to empower other people who look like me. And I wanted to empower other women, especially, to create millions for themselves, because there's power in money, right? And so, and also, so I have clients that come from similar backgrounds, barely making ends meet, all those things, who within their first 6 to 9 months, and some of them even faster than that, are landing $250,000 contracts. In fact, Remy, I think you may know him, Remy Jules, who's in real estate, but that young man secured his first $1 million contracts within 4 weeks of learning the system. So I created a fast track, right, for people. Wow. I just had a client, her name is Magda. Just yesterday, she called me and she started my program 6 weeks ago. And she said, you know what, I landed my first $150,000 contract doing CPR virtual classes for the government.
What?
Virtual. You don't even got to get out of your bed.
Wow.
You know, you do the Zoom dress, put on your top. Right?
Wow.
That's it. And so it's life changing.
Yeah.
It's changing people's lives. And so for me, it was very important to create, a blueprint to teach other people, because like, for me, I've never been the crab in the bucket mentality. I've always wanted to share information. In fact, it's always been a part of just me as a person. Yeah. Whenever I would get information, I would share it. Like even before government contracts, whenever I learned about like how to get free money, that type of stuff, where to get grants, like I would always go back and tell people. But sometimes people, they hear this information and it doesn't, they don't do anything with it. Yeah. And so, but for me, it's still my job to continue to empower people with information that can change their life, because like you said, the money is there. The only people that are not there are those who are not doing government contracts. But when you show up, you show up and you can literally change your life. Man,
what's the biggest mistakes you've seen people make while getting into government contracting?
Not being coachable. Okay. Of course, that's like the number one biggest mistake. Number two is like listening to naysayers, right? And so a lot of times people make the mistake of like there's a few free resources, right? Like Google, YouTube. People go through the free sources and they get misinformation. Even the SBA has programs where they're misdirecting people and telling them they don't qualify. I've had people who've been told by SBA, PTAC, and all these other centers that's been designed to teach people about government contracts that they don't qualify. Specifically the one that sell wigs to the government. Right. I said, baby, let me come show you the pathway. And now she's selling prosthetic wigs to the Veterans Department administration, right? Wow. And so misinformation is a big, is a big mistake that people make. Giving up too soon, not believing in themselves, accepting other people's no's as their no's, like all of those things. You have to have faith. Like business is a walk of faith, right? Right. Most people say I'll believe it when I see it, right? You can't see it first. You have to believe it first, right? Facts. You got to believe it. Yeah. If you believe it, then you will take action on it. Exactly. Right. Yeah. If you got to see it, it's not there. You're not going to ever take action. You're going to remain exactly where you are. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So faith is a huge component in being successful.
Wow, that's so powerful. And so like, how do we change the mindset, of our people, right? Because I believe this wholeheartedly that we are living in a time where it is the easiest to make a lot of money. Like it's the easiest time.
Like ridiculous money.
And I think that because a lot of us were, our parents didn't know better. Yeah. Our community didn't know better, so they did the best that they could. They tried to give us information that they thought was good information, like go to school, get a job, work hard, retire, and then live happily ever after. Those of us who have cracked the code. Figured out the combination to the safe, be inside the vault, right? Right. Those of us that figured it out are like, hell, like that ain't even halfway the way. You know? Like, it's absolutely. To the point where, like, I got a 14 and 8-year-old, and I'm like, they not even. Like, we're not even on that time. We on entrepreneurship. Yeah. Let's get money right now. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people who. I have, friends, I have family members, I have people that that I'm trying to convince, that, making a lot of money in a short period of time is the wave, right? And we're living in a great time. Wealth transfers are happening. But a lot of people fight for their limitations. Like a lot of people will fight against, what even if you show them
Yeah.
Right? Like, even if you are the example,
People
right?
have
Like,
limited,
you're the example,
yeah.
I'm the example. Even if we
beliefs.
become the example, there's still people like making excuses
Yes.
as to why it wouldn't work for them.
Yeah.
How do we start to change that mindset, specifically as it relates to like government contracting?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. For me, I take people through a 5-day experience and I show them the money. I help them understand where the money resides, right? One of the demonstrations that I like to kind of explain, like, so say for instance, we're in Atlanta. Whenever you see a crane go up, if you're an entrepreneur, you better be thinking about how can I get a piece of that pie? Because those construction sites have they're multi-trillion-dollar projects. Number one. Number two is the city ordinance is they're obligated to utilize local businesses. They're obligated to utilize women-owned, minority-owned businesses on those projects, right? Disadvantaged businesses on those projects. Well, construction sites, they need to feed people. Yeah. There's catering. They have events, right? Ribbon cutting ceremonies, community events, and things. That's event planning, right? They have fencing around. A small business can install that, right? Because they have to utilize you, right? Yeah. They have porta potties, right? If you have a small business and you provide porta potties, there you go. Every person on that site has to wear PPE gear, the hard hats, the hard shoes. So if you're in the clothing or uniform business, boom, there's the contract right there. They have to have site surveillance, so that's video, site, live feeds, right? Wow. They have to have photography of what's happening before the construction for mitigation purposes, what's happening after. They have to have small business success stories on those projects. So it's money everywhere. Wow. Most people don't see it. Yep. So let's just say you're driving down the street, right? Infrastructure. We're talking about infrastructure. Drive down the street on the freeway or whatever. Well, when you're driving by and you see like grass on city properties, right? There's a landscape contractor who had to do that, and it had to be a small business, right? When you see bus stations and there's advertising on the bus stations, right? Communication services, video, like photography, graphic design, like all of that stuff is done by a small business. When you're driving down the street and there's construction going on also, and you see the traffic sign holders, well, I have a client, a colleague in the Bay Area, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, who has a multi-billion-dollar business providing those construction signs. All it said, like, she don't even have to stand there. She just provide the signs that says, go this way, construction's happening, right turn, stop, right? So it's like money is everywhere. Most people don't know. It's everywhere, but you have to be enlightened, right? So that you can see where the money resides. Yeah. And once you understand how and who is buying your stuff, then you know how to knock on those doors and ask them for your piece of the pie because they've promised to utilize you. Wow. So you have to take your power back and you have to let them know, I know. Right. Y'all got money. And the crazy part about it is, they have to spend that money. Right. So what happens at the end of the fiscal year, they're no, for the most part, because a lot of entrepreneurs are not showing up for the money, then they're calling people who are registered and they're like, hey, can you come get this money? Because we got to spend it down, right? And so they cannot leave the fiscal year in the green. They have to leave it in the red. Otherwise, their money will not be replenished.
And that's a good point, right? Mm-hmm. For those who are action takers, because if you take action and you start getting government contracts, then that means you're in the system now, and then you can continue to get government contracts, but then also you become a pool of or like a resource
for them,
for the government. Once they are aware and looking for contract. So is there like advantages or like some best, practices as it relates to connecting with your, like your government office? Like, is it, are there particular people that you're looking for? Is it a website? Yep. What is the best practice to kind of secure?
So best practices. So I have ideally a 4-point methodology that I empower my clients with, and that is, it's called the BCMP system, right? B stands for business foundation. First, you have to have your business foundation set correctly. C stands for certification. So it's not enough just to be a minority-owned business or a woman in business or a disadvantaged or local business, right? There's an application process that you have to go through to officially be designated with that, right? And with that, I call that the golden ticket, right? And with that, it gives you power to be able to go to these agencies, right? The marketing piece, and let them know who you are, what certifications you have, how you can help them resolve their problems, right? Because you have to be a problem solver, and that you're interested in participating in their local obligation spends, right? So you have to do that. They have to know. They don't know that you exist because you have a business license. They don't even know, right? So you have to look for the contracting officers, the small business liaisons at agencies, and let them know that you exist and stay on their radar. And then once you're on their radar, anytime something comes up that falls within your wheelhouse, if you're at top of mind, they're going to call you first, right? And then lastly, the P, it stands for proposals, right? Respond to the opportunities that they're putting out. They'll start emailing you, like, here's opportunities, or you can go to the websites and look at the opportunities that they're asking for services or products of, right? And then you just respond to there. It's a call and response thing, right?
Wow. That's so powerful. I'm really like, if y'all haven't paused this yet and hit the description, right, to join Dr. Karwanna D's 5-day challenge, and I need y'all to do that. Talk about that challenge and the experience that you're going to be taking them through for 5 days.
Absolutely. So it's definitely an emerging experience. And for those who participate in the 5-day challenge, you will never view business the same. Like, we are uncovering multiple millions of dollars, pots of money. So I show them pots of money. Not only do you come and you learn about how to qualify for government contracts, you know exactly what you need to have to get started. You learn who is buying your stuff and how much they're spending on it. So you understand your value. So most people have a goal of, like, making 6 figures. That's small. When they see the money that's on the table, we help you raise the roof of that, right? Raise the threshold, because after you add up all the monies that's specifically promised to you from the government, that goes from like 6 figures to multiple millions, that goal easily, right? By the end of the challenge, you will be pre-qualified to actually sell to the government. And so it's a really amazing experience. I recommend everyone, before you can even work with me in my program, because I don't work with everyone inside my larger program, it's like you have to get pre-qualified and you have to really understand this stuff, because I want to make sure that people are ready and they're equipped to succeed in this. It's not for people who want to make quick money. It's not for that. It's not for that. It's for people who literally want to create generational wealth, change their life, build a legacy, go back to their communities and bring these monies and be the change maker. That's what it's for, right? And so the GovCon Challenge is like the best, greatest experience, and I'm just like honored to be able to present that to people.
And I love it again because I think that a lot of what we do on the show is really introducing different business concepts, right? And helping people, get in business, but then a lot of people are struggling, right? Once they do get into business. And this is, we've done shows on, other people's money, right? Going to banks and, and using credit to build an asset, and then buy an income producing asset.
Right.
But even in that, there's risk, right? Because you go to a bank, you get a loan that might be, personally guaranteed off your business. You use that money to now buy a property. There's no guarantee that property is going to be cash flowing for you, right? Right. But in this particular case, like literally if somebody's having issues with, funding or getting access to capital, you're literally getting the money from the government and you never have to pay it back.
Yes, that part.
They're paying you.
Yeah, that part. But also, right, I also want to say, like, for some people, they're in the product space, right? And literally the government buys products, like all types of products, from water to paper clips, and you can get like $500,000 contracts for those types of things. I've seen them, right? But sometimes when you're in that space, you're in a product-based business, you don't have cash flow to be able to participate in that, right? You may not have the best credit score to be able to leverage that, right? But borrowing, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because borrowing is the only way that you can get ahead, right? Yeah. And so a lot of times people are like, well, if your credit is bad, fix it so that you can get in the game, right? So a lot of times people have this is the reason why I disqualify myself or why I can't, right? And that's their solitude. Like, no, you have to fix that before you can do this. Now you know you have to take a step back and fix that so that you can get in the game, right? And most people look at debt or borrowing as debt or as a bad thing, but borrowing is the only way to get rich. Absolutely. Every rich and wealthy person that I've ever read about and know about has borrowed the money, right? In fact, it's a spiritual biblical thing. In fact, so Elijah's wife in the Bible, the widow, right? So the widow in the Bible, Elijah came to her and he asked her for her bread, right? He said, God told me to come to you and get a piece of bread, right? And so this widow, she said, well, all I have is this little bit of oil, right? Most businesses, all I got is a couple pennies. I can't get involved in that business, right? I can't grow my business. She said, I have a little bit of oil and a little bit of flour, and my idea was to bake my last piece of bread so me and my son can lay down and die, right? A lot of times people are ready to give up because of their situations and because of their circumstances. But the man of God, he said, well, go borrow the oil, right? She said, borrow. Yeah, he was teaching her entrepreneurship. He was teaching her how to create wealth. That's a wealth principle. He said, go borrow the oil and bring it back to me. And so she borrowed oil from everybody who owed her and everybody in the community who would give her the oil, and came back with so much abundance. Not only was she able to help him, she helped herself, and she was able to actually make money with the overflow, right? Yeah. And so borrowing, I mean, this is not a new thing.
That's a Bible bar.
I'm just saying, you have to borrow money to get rich. If you don't have it, figure it out. Use other people's money.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because again, like that's really one of those things that holds us back in our community, right? Where we see an opportunity to really not even change just our lives, right? To change our families' lives, to change our communities' lives. And we look at these opportunities and don't take advantage of them at the moment of the opportunity. Like, we make these excuses and we, stop ourselves and we block ourselves, and we no, I'm not going to take out debt to make money.
It don't make sense.
It don't make sense.
It don't make sense.
It don't make sense, especially if, again, I always say this because, I always tell people do their research, make sure you're connecting with people who have a track record of doing this. And you've been doing this for a while. You have receipts. You've been doing this at a high level, teaching people. And not only have you gotten success, right? You've also helped a lot of other people have success as well. And I think that's the true test, if you will, of if somebody has knowledge or not, is their ability to be able to say, hey, can I help somebody else have the success, right? Like
absolutely.
When, I've been super duper successful, but I don't have to talk about my success so much because I've helped so many other people have success. And so now you don't have to only look at me, right? You could, what's the saying? You could tell the strength of a tree by the fruit that it bears, or something like that, right? And so you could tell, if I'm a strong tree, which my name is Ash. Ash means strength, like it's a part. It's a tree, right? So if I'm a strong tree, then it's Ash producing fruits, right? Are there students? Are there people that can say, hey, Ash helped me make some money? And that's what you've been able to do. Really just exposing people to get into government contracting.
Absolutely.
So, listen, y'all, I need y'all to go join Dr. Karwanna D in her 5-day challenge. Go to InsideGovContracts.com. The website is right below, but make sure y'all tap in. And here's the other, and y'all know, if y'all been watching this show, y'all know me by now. The reason why I'm a fan of either free master classes or 5-day challenges where you invest a small amount, but you actually get an opportunity to spend time with whoever you're going to be learning from, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm a big fan of that because, I believe that, there's a lot of people out here who they watch a podcast, or right, they watch a podcast or they read a book, and then all of a sudden they're an expert. Like all of a sudden they know the ins and out of it, and then now they're teaching. In fact, like I ain't gonna call you out, but in fact, there's a gentleman that I follow, and I know who his mentor is, right? Like his mentor is a close friend of mine, and I'm following this dude and I'm watching and I'm like, yo, why does it sound like my guy?
Yeah.
And literally, he's regurgitating every single thing that, that my guy, says, even in mannerism and cadence and thing. And the problem with that is that people start to believe you. Yeah. And so if you're just like, hit the link in my bio, somebody might just buy something based on what you're saying that you're copying from somebody else.
Exactly.
But when you do a 5-day challenge,
you learn the person.
Right. You learn the person. You learn the information. I don't believe that it's possible that somebody could fake for 5 days.
Exactly.
Like you will be exposed.
Yes.
If you a fraud, you spend 5 days in a challenge with somebody, you will be exposed at the highest level. But then also I think what makes it good as well is because the 5-day challenge is an opportunity to really test each other too, right? Because it's almost like, all right, come into this 5-day challenge, especially if somebody does VIP, they get to actually talk to you. They get to actually ask you questions, and you guys get to feel each other's energy.
Yes.
Right? So now when it's time to, work with you further, right? You both get to make a decision. You both get to say, you know what? Like, is this person coachable? Is this person ready to go to the next level?
Yes.
And so that's a wonderful thing. So make sure
absolutely.
y'all go to InsideGovContracts.com. Make sure you tap in with Dr. Karwanna D. Give us some advice or some last parting words. Again, for those who are, maybe stuck in their ways, maybe, they've been looking for a sign. You are that sign, right? Yeah. But like, give some parting words for those who, just may be struggling right now.
Well, I would say, like, a lot of times when people hear about government contracts, they're trying to figure out what can I sell to the government or what do I do, right? And I always say start with who you are and be true to what you're passionate about, right? Because when you build a business around purpose and passion, right, then you'll never have to work another day in your life because you're doing exactly what you were called to do, right? So start there. So if you were really good with kids, start with childcare. They have contracts for that, right? If you're really good with talking to people, start with consulting, right? Start with counseling, right? They have contracts for counseling services as well. If you're really good at building, start with construction or some type of trade, right? And so just start with who you are. But for those who are just kind of like, oh, I don't really know if this can work for me, just know that you have to pour into yourself and give yourself permission to be great, because government contracting, like the money, making the money is easy. Yeah. The hard work comes with you becoming the person, right? That personal, professional development is 80% of the work. If you can work on you, the business stuff is gonna work itself out, right? So just show up for yourself, continue to work on you, and just know that this road, right? So Steve Jobs, he talks about, one of my favorite quotes by Steve Jobs is like, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect it looking back. Well, Dr. Karwanna D says you can absolutely connect the dot looking forward when you design the life and the business that you want, right? Because when you design it and you believe that it can happen for you, then you create action steps. If you create that action step, right, it's like a GPS in your way to success, and you take that action, connecting the dots forward, then there's no way that you cannot land on the very thing that you targeted to land on in the first place, because you designed the life that you want to live.
Bars. Government bars. There you have it, y'all. Make sure y'all tap in. Dr. Karwanna D is having a 5-day challenge. She's going to teach you everything about government contracts so you can make a decision for yourself how easy it is to secure the bag. Listen, we always talk about reparations. We talk about the 40 acres and a mule. Instead of waiting and hoping and trying to elect the right people so that can happen, you can get access to the $2.6 trillion secret that is hiding in plain sight. Go to InsideGovContracts.com. If they wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
So you can find me at Karwanna D Speaks on Instagram, Dr. Karwanna D on Facebook. Yep.
All right, y'all.